to the question period, which once again, any of you in the audience who have a question towards the end, if we have time to take some, we will make sure to get a mic to you if you raise your hand so that, again, folks on Zoom can hear you. All right? Have a great event, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to go and open up the webinar. Started the live stream already. All right, folks, welcome in. Just give you a few seconds to connect. Bonjour et bienvenue tout le monde. On behalf of all of us here behind the scenes at Fourth Space, welcome panelists, special guests, moderators, and audience members in person or via Zoom to the future of women's entrepreneurship and leadership, opportunities for positive change post-pandemic. We are coming to you live from Concordia University's Fourth Space, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. As caretakers for the lands and waters we are meeting on, we'd like to signal how grateful we are to the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation for their teachings about the earth and our relations. At Fourth Space, we work to connect people to the initiatives, research projects, and dialogues that are happening across the university via daily events. So to that end, it's been our pleasure to collaborate with the Barry F. Lorenzetti Center for Women Entrepreneurship and Leadership for this panel conversation. A reminder for those of you joining us in the space today, we will probably have time to take a few questions towards the end, so do feel free to raise a hand and we'll get a mic to you so that folks on Zoom can hear you. And those of you on Zoom, the Q&A is of course activated. We'll do our best to share a couple of our thoughts, your thoughts with the panelists here today. Finally, we are live streaming to YouTube and I'll pop that link into the chat in just a minute. If you'd like to share it across your channels, please do so. And with that, it's my pleasure to hand it over to President and Vice Chancellor of Concordia University, Graham Carr. Welcome in.
Thank you, Anna. Good afternoon, everyone. Look, this is a little particular. Today is the last day of classes at the university, and we've asked our faculty members to keep their masks on while they're lecturing. So in solidarity, I'm going to keep my mask on, but the rest of you, when you're up here, make your own choice. So thank you again, Anna, and it's terrific to see everybody. It's fantastic to see people in person, and thank you everyone who's joining us in hybrid mode. It's been a long time coming to get activities back on campus in person, and I think although there's obviously a few bumps in the road still, it's a really welcome trend, and what a great opportunity today to welcome everyone to the launch of the Barry F. Lorenzetti Center in Women's Entrepreneurship and Leadership, the inaugural event of this center. And I have to say that I think the university and the Molson School are particularly proud to be hosts for this center because I think it aligns very well with a couple of what have been Concordia's great strengths for many, many decades. The pursuit of equity and inclusion for women on the one hand, and the support and advancement of entrepreneurship on the other. We go back to the early 20th century to the roots of one of Concordia's founding institutions, Sir George Williams University. Sir George was one of the first universities in Montreal to make a deliberate effort to welcome women and single mothers, immigrants, people of color when they were facing closed doors elsewhere. Thanks, Anna. They did that by offering a robust program of night courses, flexible scheduling, some of the things with which Sir George Williams was particularly identified. But also, I think more broadly, through their commitment to supporting social mobility and opportunity for many people in the Montreal community who otherwise would not have had it. And later, of course, in 1978, Concordia became the first university in Canada to establish a women's studies program when we created l'Institut Simone de Beauvoir. As for entrepreneurship, well, I'll say a little bit about our District 3 Innovation Center before I come to the Molson School. The District 3 Innovation Center has been a runaway success at Concordia for about the past 5 years. More than half of the teams in that center today are led by women entrepreneurs. And as for the John Molson School, well, it's a school which has long had strengths in family business, and we know that many women entrepreneurs are absolutely fundamental to the successful family businesses here in Montreal, Quebec, and elsewhere, but also in leadership and governance. And these are also, I think, important elements of the Molson School strengths and its representation to the world. And it's, of course, those strengths which have also contributed to the vaulting in the rankings of the John Molson School in recent years. This is always one of my favorite parts of public presentations, to remind people that the Molson School MBA is ranked 68th in the world by The Economist magazines. There are literally thousands of MBA programs. The only Canadian business school in the Princeton Review ranking of the top 50 business schools in the world at the graduate level for entrepreneurship. And I think all of this is part of the context behind the creation of the Lorenzetti Center, and one of the reasons why Barry felt it was a logical next step for him to support and for Concordia as well. And it certainly helps us in our ongoing challenge and determination to be a transformative force as a university in society, a force for positive good. And for that, I want to thank Barry in particular. He isn't able to join us in person today, but there is a lovely recording that he's done. And of course, the two fabulous leaders of the center, Louise Champoux-Paillet and Ingrid Chadwick. And you'll be hearing more from them in a moment, as well as everybody else who's involved in the success of the center. I'm really proud of what the Molson School is accomplishing. I'm really proud of what we're doing to pursue diversity, inclusivity, equity, decolonization within the university, and to foster entrepreneurship. And the Lorenzetti Center is a big part of that. And of course, it's also a matter of personal pride now to hand things over to Dean Anne-Marie Croteau, as you know, the first woman to be Dean of the John Molson School of Business.
Merci beaucoup, Graham. Après, once you speak, it's a bit... Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you all. Thank you very much, ladies, mesdames. Merci. Oui, je suis la première femme à être la doyenne de l'école de gestion, and it's with great pride, I must say. And it gave me some, let's say, more knowledge or how important it is to be a role model when you're a woman, when you're a leader. Not that I thought I would have to do it, but it's more like the students were excited, people were talking about it, and then you realize, oh my God, there's so much to do when it comes to women in leadership. And there we are. So the Lorenzetti Center is something that we strongly believed in. We were lucky enough to get the support from Mr. Lorenzetti, which is a major gift that will help us in our research efforts, also with training and so on. So there's a lot to do. Thank you to the advisory board as well. Mesdames, merci beaucoup. And we walked the talk, not only with this new center, but the business school was also the very first business school in Canada to receive the the certification by the Women in Governance. So already we were doing something about what matters, which is having parity when it comes to the leadership and also to our population, student population. There's a lot to say also regarding the role of men and women. Je vais le dire en français parce que c'est plus émotif pour moi, mais vous allez comprendre pourquoi. C'est important d'avoir des hommes qui nous supportent dans nos efforts. La cause des femmes, on la porte déjà beaucoup entre nous, entre femmes, et c'est important, il faut continuer de le faire. Mais c'est encore plus fort quand tout le monde se rassemble autour de ça, les hommes et les femmes, et ce n'est pas une affaire d'attendre après les hommes, je ne suis pas en train de dire ça, mais quand les hommes nous supportent autant que les femmes, tout le monde gagne. C'est là que je suis dans mon école là, de pensée. Et puis, on a des hommes présents parmi nous. Aujourd'hui, c'est important. Je vous salue, messieurs, Emilio, Jacques, Patrick. Tous nos collègues sont ici. Mais c'est important. Mais c'est, encore une fois, vous voyez, it's not about men against women. It's really about all together. But let's make sure that we get all the women equal access so they can go as far as they want and achieve their greatest potential. I think that's what matters the most to us. So I'd like to thank again Mr. Lorenzetti for his gift, for his vision, for his support, but also our co-directors, fabulous woman, Advisory Board, merci beaucoup. Aussi, tous les gens autour de ça, Joe Capano qui nous a aidés avec la réalisation ce centre, ma collègue Kathleen Bois, qui est vice-doyenne recherche, et aussi sa collègue Maureen Donato. Alors, merci at Fourth Space. Thank you very much. Thank you for having this event with us. And Kelly, where is she? Kelly, of course, thank you. And that's many. So, merci beaucoup. Merci à tous. Bon événement.
Thank you, Anne-Marie, and hello, everyone here today. A century ago, women made up only 21% of the workforce here in Canada, and a woman who wanted to be a CEO was considered an impossible dreamer and ridiculed. Generations of women were blocked from leadership positions within a corporate culture steeped in male chauvinism. However, there were rare exceptions, such as the fashion designer Coco Chanel, the cosmetic magnate Elizabeth Arden, and our very own Lise Wattier, who proved women could build global business empires. Today, much has changed, yet women still have a long way to go. In the tech sector, for example, 80% of the top executives are male, and at Fortune 500 companies, the number of CEOs has actually dropped by 25% in the last 3 years. The pandemic has had a brutal effect on women in leadership. Despite these hurdles and other setbacks, women have become a force in the job market, as today they make up nearly half of all Canadian workers. There are more women serving on the boards of Fortune 500 companies and as university presidents than ever before. Meanwhile, at some top MBA programs, such as JMSB, the best, more than 40% of enrolled students are actually women. More women in the boardroom will lead to more women in corporate suites. It gives young girls and women a sense of what's possible. And quite a bit is possible when women hold leadership jobs. According to studies that look at the impact of female business leaders, women bring a different set of eyes and a different mindset from their male colleagues. As a result, women are obviously at the forefront of innovation, sparking disruption. And I can attest to this, having 2 daughters. They create new products and they launch novel strategies. Indeed, the latest generation of female executives is changing the way people work. Have you ever noticed that on frequent occasions when people are in a crisis, they're more likely to trust a woman to lead them to a safe outcome? While this may seem like good news, it's still limiting for women because it speaks to a perception of qualification based on gender alone, not skills, competence, or experience. I just recently read this comment about a woman who runs a Fortune 500 company. She said, "I've always tried to conduct myself in a gender-neutral way. I'm not going to have my being a woman play part of any discussions. I'm focused on results and transparency and what are my objectives I am prepared to deliver on. My objective was not to present myself as promotable, but to do my job as effectively as possible." Pretty impressive. Women entrepreneurs are important for creating new jobs and contributing to the social and economic fabric of our society. However, the effects of women entrepreneurship on growth and culture are still downplayed. Bias still exists. In my opinion, there has far been too much talk and less action taken, and it's time to act. Corporations need to get on board in the right way, and I'm very proud to say that BFL Canada has been in the forefront of change for many years. This is a very large part of the BFL model. I have built and I continue to build this model, so it's only natural that I get involved with you at Concordia's Center for Research on Women in Entrepreneurship, and I'm honored to be part of this initiative. You know, our company will celebrate its 35th birthday this year. We have grown from humble beginnings to a financial services giant. But what I am most proud about is that we remain independent and privately held. And yes, a number of senior positions are held by qualified women who report to me directly. They are outstanding employees who just happen to be women. Now, if there's someone who understands entrepreneurship well, that's me. Entrepreneurs. You need to possess certain qualities. You need to be a bit crazy, let's face it. You're independent, stubborn, although my wife tells me that's a family trait. You need to be brave, committed, and above all, passionate for what you believe in. You need mentors, and you need money. So don't underestimate the importance of your business plan. So the state of a woman's progress in the workplace and in leadership is not just a woman's issue. It's an issue for all of us, so we can build communities where we can tap into the very best resources from each of us. Remember what I said earlier. Every successful woman entrepreneur has one very special quality that contributes greatly to their success, and that's passion. Good luck to your center. It gives me every reason to join you in this wonderful project. I look forward to your building synergy in the various research areas, working with business and academic leaders, and finally developing recommendation to close the gap in inequality for women leadership and entrepreneurship. And finally, I truly do admire our younger generation for forcing the world to change, perhaps forever, in a very, very fast way. You're a generation which challenges more, questions more, and takes more risk. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lorenzetti. Oh, I'm hearing people are having a hard time hearing me. Is that okay? Like this? There we go. Hi, everyone, and thank you again, Mr. Lorenzetti, for that presentation, and more importantly, for your generous support of the center and today's event. So I want to also say thank you, Dean Croteau, President Carr. I think it's quite a wonderful start to the event, just really showcasing how passionate we all are about supporting women entrepreneurship and leadership here at Concordia. So I think you've all figured it out by now. My name is Ingrid Chadwick, and I'm here together with Louise Champeau-Paillet as the co-directors of this new Barry F. Lorenzetti Center for Women, Entrepreneurship, and Leadership. And I'm really grateful for all of you being here today for our first event. It's an honor. We're really grateful, so thank you. Before we go any further and turn it over to the panel, I just wanted to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the center. Mr. Lorenzetti has already alluded to it, and so has our president and dean, but basically the main purpose of this center is to create a sustainable hub of expertise and research on women entrepreneurship and leadership. And so for that reason, we basically have two components to it. So on the one hand, the center is able to provide research funding to our faculty members, to our students through grants and scholarships, so that we can promote more research on women entrepreneurs and leadership and to create more synergies in this area. But then on the other hand, we're also able to put together events like this in our community where we can encourage knowledge sharing, build bridges between academia and practice, and ultimately help us better support women entrepreneurs and leaders moving forward. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Louise to tell you a bit more about today's event and the panel you have ahead of you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Ingrid. I'm so pleased to be with you today and so pleased to see you in person. It's the first time that we see us in person. So I would like to give you an idea of why we choose this subject, the future of women entrepreneurship and leadership, opportunities for positive change post-pandemic. The ongoing COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on women in the workplace. Women's economic future has looked grim throughout the pandemic. But despite the downturn, more women are eager to advance in their career, rejoin the workforce, and pursue new opportunities than last year. That's good news. The recent trend toward flexible workplace could be driving women's ambition. And let's say we have ambition. The pandemic has pushed more companies to implement flexible work policies, which can help women better balance the competing demands of their job and home life. The pandemic has also spurred a wake-up call among women. After juggling work and childcare responsibilities, some women are starting to turn their attention toward themselves and their passions. This panel discussion by prominent business leaders, members of our advisory board, will try to shine a light on the many opportunities for women in entrepreneurship and leadership moving forward. So I would like to introduce you our panel. So the first one is Lisa Giannone. Lisa is Regional Vice President at BFL Canada. The second, Elise Léger. She is Vice President Investment Counselor at Fiera Capital. We have an entrepreneur, Anne-Marie Trudeau. She is President at Trudeau Corporation, and that's a big success, so I'd like to acknowledge that. And Indu Krishnamurthy, Executive Director, Microcrédit Montréal. And if you have time to say a few words of your organization, it would be so helpful for our students and people in the room. And we have a fifth member who is not there. That's Kathleen Bois, who is member of our advisory board. And she cannot be with us because of COVID. So you will surely understand. So I will begin my question with you, Lisa. Women have been hit hard by the pandemic. We all know that. Beyond the job loss, women also shouldered more of the caregiving burden during the pandemic. It is changing, but we have still job to do in order that it is the parity in this situation. So, as a senior executive of a large financial institution, BFL, do you believe that women will bounce back in a world of hybrid work? And is there a ray of light amid the gloom? Lisa.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Oh.
Thank you, Ingrid. It's great to be here, and it's great to finally meet you women. We've been working together along with Louise and Ingrid for quite some time now, so it's really great to be here today. So Lisa Giannone, I work for BFL Canada. Obviously, we all heard Barry, so I don't have much else to add on BFL Canada, but I am flattered and thrilled to be part of this today, and obviously looking forward to working with all of you women going forward. Now, to answer the question, let me begin by saying, firstly, I do agree that women have had the burden of caregiving during the pandemic. There's no question in my mind. Fathers, have not been the ones that have been away, away from the labor force and working with the children or taking care of the children, working with the children with respect to education, and obviously caring for the children. So we have seen women obviously being the ones making the decisions to care for the children, and also elderly responsibilities. So I feel that, I strongly believe this, I feel that women have become the caregivers, right, and have the responsibility compared to the male in terms of our parents and where our parents live and how those places have become unsafe, right, with the pandemic. So for those reasons, and in addition, during the pandemic, there's been a lot of time, right? People have had the opportunity, everything's changed, the way time has been managed, so spending time away from the office, not spending as much time going to and from work, just spending time more at home than obviously at work, and also being able to accumulate savings, so there's an accumulation of savings. All of this time has led for women to really think about their careers, their professional lives, and obviously their home lives. So I do believe that women have made decisions. Some women have said, I'm going to take a sabbatical and I'm really going to take care of my kids. And at the same time, I'm going to think about what I want to do, right, professionally. Am I really in the job that I feel I should be in, and do I aspire to do more? So on that, some women have, with the sabbatical, have decided financially that they can actually live on one salary, so they have not come back into the workforce. They've decided to make those small concessions, and those small concessions have largely offset reduced stress and spending more time with children. So all this to say, most women have come back into the labor force, and women are seeking change. And there are job openings, and employment, obviously, rate being as low as it is, tremendous opportunities are now before them. So it's truly an employee market, and if businesses don't recognize women's skill set, as Barry alluded to earlier, tremendous skill sets in leadership positions, then the whole economy is affected, and frankly, shame on us. As the pandemic drags on, it has become clear to many firms that we can no longer be doing business the same way. We have to change, we have to reorganize, and many firms have done that, including BFL. We were very pleased to introduce our Work Smart program, which is a hybrid program. So it allows women and employees the flexibility opportunity to manage their priorities with respect to the home front. When we analyzed our company's performance, we actually performed very well, continued to drive results, and overachieved. So this, in my mind, says that there are better ways, more efficient ways to continue to be productive, including the introduction of technology. So having said this, going to the office is really important because collaboration, teamwork, these are key elements to a company's culture and maintaining that culture. So to me, the hybrid solution is really a good tool and the right solution. So some women have come to work, back to work, looking for better opportunities, and they basically, in some cases, are reinventing themselves. Some are actually trying their hand at starting their own business. So to me, this is really positive, very positive, actually. I see this as a step forward for women individually and as a society. And I just want to reemphasize the importance of supporting women, particularly in middle management roles, because in middle management roles, that's where I feel that women are struggling. They're juggling raising a young family and obviously accelerating their professional aspirations. So if these women remain dedicated and we help them, and we have all of the support, including what we're doing here today, I do believe that these women will evolve into C-suite positions, and we all know that we want women in CEO positions at the helm of Canadian firms. So to answer the question, or to conclude, I should say, the pandemic might just have been the real accelerating factor to put women at the forefront and move it forward. And again, the support, and I liked what Dean had to say about men supporting women, and it's about working together. It's no longer about men or women, it's really about collaboration and teamwork and moving the needle so that everybody has an equal playing field. So yes, I do believe that women have bounced back, and there is a light amid this glooming pandemic. Thank you.
So, thank you. Yes, you hear me? Yes? Mon micro? Oh, thank you. Thank you. And the question will be for you? Yes. So for several years, we have been seeing the environmental, social, and governance agenda take more space in business strategies. Companies are facing growing investor pressure to increase the representation of women on corporate boards, in C-suite, and across executive leadership. As a senior vice president of an important independent asset management firm, and as a woman, how do you demonstrate your commitment to this goal and how gender fits into ESG?
Great. Thank you, Louise. Yes, my name is Elise Léger from Fiera Capital. I'm an investment manager, vice president at private wealth at Fiera Capital, and I'm really honored to be here today. Actually, I was so happy to have the opportunity to join the committee with all these fantastic women. And I was very honored when Barry asked me to join the advisory committee. And being here, as I'm a Concordia graduate, coming back here, it's really emotional because back in the days, I did my degree in actuarial mathematics here at Concordia. And the first weeks, I thought, am I really at the right place? Do I really belong here? Because there was not so many women, and I would have dreamed to have this type of center created at that time so that it would provide support and certainly a great initiative for women that were just trying to, to move into a career that was mostly men focused. So to answer your question about ESG, of course, ESG has been, a priority for investment management firms, even prior to the pandemic. Fiera Capital was actually a signatory of the Responsible Principles of Investing in 2009. So that was just not new. But I have to say that the pandemic has certainly created a new paradigm in terms of ESG. I think it's more of a greater awareness of of course, environmental, social, and governance issues. So, of course, yes, it has been certainly a good opportunity to create a new framework, I have to say, which means that now we're not only investing for principles, but we're also monitoring, and there's a framework that really tracks what's being done in investment firms, and of course the engagement of these firms to be to embrace this responsibility. So for example, there's a new board that was created by the Sustainability Accounting Board, and standards that they have established, and we just implemented it at Fiera Capital, and certainly it's bringing our model and our the way that we manage and that we monitor the progress in terms of how we can achieve goals on the interaction of integration of ESG factors within our investment process. So, and I mean, it's been done within, throughout the investment industry and also in other industries, because we invest in other companies that are in different sectors. And of course, it does create this awareness and this commitment to make sure that we have that we're trying to achieve parity and equity. And I have to say that for the Caisse de dépôt, for example, has been a great leader in that role, and they have created the sustainability or sustainable investment report that they produce on an annual basis, and it was actually released yesterday. And they actually are stating that 39% of their executive committees are women. And that's that's a great,
Yes.
of course, a great improvement.
Yes.
And I have to say that we still need to, there's still much more to do, because only 25% of women are in investment roles at the Caisse de dépôt. So very good progress, but still there's a long way to go as well. But we're in the right, it's certainly heading in the right direction.
So thank you very much. I will pass the micro to you, Ingrid.
Yes. That was an exciting sound. Is that too loud? Do I need a microphone? We'll try it again. Okay, sorry about that. At least no one has said that anyone is on mute yet, so we're making progress. So thank you so much for these insights so far. I'd like to switch the focus to entrepreneurship more specifically, and I have a question for you, Anne-Marie. So we've heard about the pandemic having a really negative impact on women entrepreneurs, not only because of women taking on more of the house, keeping responsibilities, but also because women entrepreneurs relative to men tend to operate, they run smaller businesses, or they're more likely to be self-employed. They tend to have less capital. They tend to be more heavily concentrated in service industries that have been hit the hardest by the pandemic, right? So we know it's been hard for women entrepreneurs just to stay afloat, let alone trying to pivot in the face of COVID. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on how can women sort of take the situation and the COVID crisis and turn it into an opportunity moving forward?
Thank you. Thanks, Ingrid. Nice to be here, everybody. I too graduated from this wonderful university. Was not at all in my field, actually, but I will tell you that it's very emotional, just like you said, Elise, and to be here today. And it's a testament, in fact, to what we are able to accomplish. And for sure, the saying is, alone I can go fast, but together we'll go much further. And like Barry said, as an entrepreneur, there's two things that motivate me. Obviously, a sense of urgency. My team often tells me, okay, we have a lot on our plate, calm down, it'll get done eventually. So the sense of urgency that we have all felt, I think, in the world. And one of the we know that out of crisis comes phenomenal things. So we basically pressed the fast forward button, and as the world, as our community, we kind of reacted. So it's never good when you react to something. So in a way, the fact that we've been in this for 2 years, I think is helping society to really evolve in the speed of light into various ways. So everybody talks about hybrid work and how that's going to happen. I'm kind of happy that COVID is lasting a bit longer because it's allowing us to adjust. It's also allowing us to give ourselves a break. And what I'd like all women to do is to give yourselves a break. It's hard for us to do, I believe, and now I'm going to do something that you should never do, is to put a label. But I think that one of the reasons that women entrepreneurs are successful is because we're extremely resilient. So when you're told no all the time and you keep going back at it and you never give up, that really helps you. It helps you perform. And you will all agree with me, I'm sure, whoever is online or in the room, that when you have a difficult journey, or when you go through something that's a bit more difficult, you'll probably remember that, and you'll probably learn a lot more from that than all of the successes. Now, life is about balance, so we need success and we need failures, right? So that we can get through it. So I think that this is my learning, and to encourage. And I remember when we were preparing this, I remember I told you, Louise, I said, well, there's so much positive that's coming out of this crisis. To me, there's a lot more positive than there is. At the end of the day, I think women entrepreneurs in the world and women that are C-suite and are in large organizations, what they do is they just bring a different mindset. And the magic is the mindset of men and women, or non-gender specific. I must say that we are all getting used to and evolving in that. And the generation of certainly my children, or maybe mid-generation, are helping us to accept, adapt, change. So we're going faster. But at the same time, I think one of the things that has to happen is to just be more kind. So to give ourselves a break, be more kind, but that doesn't mean to not perform. On the contrary, you know, there's an expression my stepmom always tells me is kill them with kindness, and it's true. So treat your employees, your colleagues, your coworkers with kindness. Chances are they're going to want to help you and get to your goal. By the way, I can talk all day, so you have to just be careful and be mindful. So flexibility, agility, I think that this is so, I remember when we started having emails in our family business, it was 2003. I was so excited when I figured out that I could actually bring my kids to the dentist, come back home, get on email and work at night. I didn't have to stay at the office to send faxes to all our partners in Europe or in Asia. So I saw that technology could help and make me more efficient. But of course, you know, you're kind of looked upon in a society where, or in a company culture where everybody stayed at the office till 8, 9 at night. That was valued. So the good news I find is that now we live in a world, I certainly hope, where that kindness and that mindset should not be about women. It should just be about how we want to lead our businesses, how we want to lead our universities, our governments. So that's what I think is so encouraging of what all this has happened. But still so much to do. Still, even this morning in one of the local papers, it was talking about inequality. Still, women are not paid the same as men, which really is completely unacceptable in today's world. So we have to step up our game as far as asking big companies and shareholders to stop this madness. And it's a human being that's in front of you and delivering the performance of a company, and they should be paid the exact same wage. So that takes maybe guts, for sure it does, but certainly we should be in 2022, 23, ready to get there. I hope this helps.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Messages about how hard the pandemic has been for us, and not to take away from that, but to also see how can we move forward in the best way. So thank you. And I'm going to continue with the entrepreneurship focus for a little bit longer. So Indu, Louise mentioned that you run Microcrédit Montréal, a really interesting organization that provides financial funding to entrepreneurs, professional immigrants who for different reasons tend to be sort of excluded from traditional financing institutions. And so I also know that most of your clients are women. So I'm curious how your organization has helped women entrepreneurs stay afloat and keep their passion alive during this time.
Thank you, Ingrid, for the question. Thank you for the invitation. And it's lovely to see so many people in person. I'd like to add that when I moved from India, England, and then to Montreal 22 years ago, and I was told that my diploma in accounting was not recognized, actually I decided to dedicate, or rather work in the nonprofit sector. I did a graduate diploma from the School of Public Affairs, Community and Public Affairs. So I am also a proud alumni of Concordia, and I am the executive director of Microcredit Montreal that offers financing for those who are excluded from financial institutions for different reasons. And it is true that COVID has put a spotlight on the importance of having a feminist and an intersectional lens when it comes to helping people. But what I wanted to do today was to enumerate through 2 examples how women have taken the COVID as an opportunity. And so let me talk about, so I'm going to talk about Marie, who is from Haiti. She was a manager of a nonprofit organization in Haiti. She found herself a refugee here during COVID. And for her, COVID was an opportunity because she was able to access the quick training program to become an auxiliary nurse. So she was able to work as a nurse, and she was able to put money on the food on the table. So it was great for her. but there was something behind her. She kept saying, I want to do more. I think I can do more. And let's face it, being an auxiliary nurse, working nights and days was difficult for her. But she happened to find our Facebook posting about our entrepreneurship training program for 12 weeks. And she said, you know what? The good thing is it's offered online, something that we started doing during COVID. And she could work her hours, so she could be there every Wednesday for 3 hours. So that was an opportunity for her. She was able to follow a business plan training course online. She had an idea. She's bubbly. She knows people in her community, although it hasn't been long that she's here. And she said, I want to start an agency so that I can help people. We know that there's a pénurie de main-d'œuvre. There's people looking for people like me. Why can't I start an agency? And she didn't know how to go about it. So that's what she did. This program helped her explore her entrepreneurial potential, but also to explore whether this idea would be feasible. So over the 12 weeks, she did the training, but she realized through our financial literacy courses that, yes, she needed to put money aside for a rainy day. Through our digital communication program courses, she realized that she needed an online presence if she had to start a business here in Quebec. And she knew that she had access to a microloan at the end of it, even if she wanted to test her idea. So it was good for her that she was able to keep her job and explore this entrepreneurial idea. And on the same vein, I'd like to talk to you about Ludmila, who's from Moldavia. She was apparently the coach for the president of Moldavia before she landed here in Quebec. And she was working in different YMCAs as a coach and so on. And overnight, her revenue stopped. She had no access to gyms. But she switched to Zoom. She started offering courses on Zoom, and she found that there was interest. So without realizing, she was becoming an entrepreneur, self-employed. And then when she saw our course again, she signed up with us. And going through the whole thing, she realized you have to formalize things. So idea of separating her bank account and so on. So all this training helped her kind of focus, put her energies on where she's good at, bring on other people who could help her structure herself. And I have the president of our loan committee who can testify that Eric Krause, and we offered her a $10,000 loan just so that she could get her business off ground. And we're very mindful that a loan can be a double-edged sword. So we actually made the disbursements in tranches so that we want to see how she evolves and then give her a second tranche. So here's Ludmila, who's got Body by Ludmi, an incorporated business, and she found an opportunity. And we can give you many other examples. So COVID has been an opportunity for Marie, for Ludmila, whether it's exploration or starting their own business, because they also appreciate the flexibility. And that's why I think the importance of the intersectional lens is also important when in the research that you're going to be doing.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So, with all these answers, do you have any questions? Please, one. Yes.
Yeah, it's coming
Oh,
over
yes.
here in a second.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alexandra Dawson. I'm a professor at JMSB. Thank you all for being here. This is very interesting. I have a question. I'm thinking about a lot of our students are young women, and the role of having a mentor is very important. Studies show that women tend to have fewer mentors because typically you want to identify with a person, so you would look at a woman, and there are fewer women who are in leadership positions, entrepreneurs. But also studies show that whereas men, when they have mentors, they form more of an informal bond with them. So they will reach out, ask a question, whereas women tend to form more formal networks. So they will go up to somebody and say, Louise, will you be my mentor? And that's quite scary. You're not going to do that. So what advice would you have for our women students who are figuring out what to do when they grow up, they're still quite young, and in terms of reaching out to somebody who can share their experience with them. And I don't know who I'm asking.
Yes.
Oh, right there.
Oops.
Thank you. It's a great question. So the reason I took the mic, ladies, and pardon my jumping in here, but at BFL Canada, we just introduced the mentorship program, and there's twofold. One is a group mentorship forum, and then the second one is one-on-one individual mentorship. So I understand what you're saying, because all of my career, I was a very male-dominated industry in insurance brokerage and risk management. I've always looked for a mentor, and it was very difficult for me to actually have one or find somebody that can, take me along and allow me to ask all my questions in all openness and transparency. So to answer the question, I think if there's a way to deploy an informal or maybe even formal mentorship program where it has two components to it, I think that could be the solution, because that way you don't have, these young women trying to figure out like who can be the right mentor for me. And somebody takes that on in terms of if you have candidacy, so you have candidatures, people put in their candidacy to become a mentor, then you can actually match them up accordingly. And then secondly, the second component of our mentorship program is basically a group mentorship where different topics. So one is on strategic leadership, one on recruitment, one on personal branding, and et cetera. And I think the group piece is also important, because you're sitting for an hour or whatever it is in a forum where you get to hear the others, and especially that it's all women around the table. So there's a level of trust that's actually ingrained. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you very much for that great question. I do agree with Lisa that this is really a key question, because in the financial industry, it's been, a male-oriented business. And of course, there is, like you said, the natural bounding that are created in mentorship for men. And at Fiera, we created this DE&I committee where we actually focused on mentorship for women, specifically because we identify that as a lack and certainly a need for women to raise up in their responsibilities in accessing the C-suite position. So basically what we've done is actually created awareness, and of course got the management commitment, and like what BFL has done with the structured program. And last fall, we had about 30 women that participated in the IFEA program, which is a leadership challenge of 100 days. And it's been very successful. We actually created the good bounding of all the participants. And now this was made for the women leaders. And now we're actually becoming mentors for the next cohort. So it's actually going to be like an ongoing process. And we're going to be mentoring the next generation or the next cohort. So it's actually a success within our firm, and we're actually thinking about expanding it to our community, and possibly the interns that are starting and are still at university that can actually participate in that program in a way. So it's actually very essential.
And would you say that in entrepreneurship, mentoring is also very important?
Yes, for sure. It's hard to know when you're 22, 23. I don't know if you're just, if you're doing undergrad. What helps a lot is when you allow and you educate. So this is why it's so exciting, this center, because it's all about communication and education. And I think that in Montreal, we know there's a lot of entities that are addressing this issue about women. So FA is a great thing. So maybe there's a value to networking. How you grow a business a lot is by networking. And so I truly believe that Montreal, as the French community, the English community, we should network. Maybe if FA gets involved with Concordia, it's not a competition here. It's about making sure that we take care of these young entrepreneurs let's say they're entrepreneurs or they want to go into larger industries or the finance industry or insurance or whatnot. I think that to allow them and maybe to put in the curriculum is a good idea to that. So it's just that when you're, what courses am I going to take next session? Well, maybe depending on if they are in business, there should certainly be an aspect about, so how are you going to discover what you're going to like to do? And I can tell you that I've had 2 mentors in my life that are life-changing. But you know what they mostly did? They really just told me to trust myself. That's what they mostly did. They didn't really teach me specific things. You learned, of course, but they really taught me I was my best advisor. So.
Indu, would you have something to add?
A lot has been already said, but of course, having a mentor, access to mentorship is always useful because you need a sounding board, somebody who can just reflect your ideas on it. And as Anne-Marie said, just to convince yourself that your idea is good. So absolutely, it's important.
And do you have something to add?
Thank you. I was just looking.
We started whispering.
Yeah, we
with
started
ideas.
whispering ideas just on how we can actually, we as an advisory board can maybe help and, find some solutions to this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see some more hands, and we might have a question on Zoom.
Yes.
Essa?
Oh, yes, a man.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for an amazing event. My name is Ehsan Dayati. I'm Senior Advisor, it's a very long title, Advisor Innovation and Strategic Research Initiatives and Director of National Bank Initiative in Entrepreneurship and Family Business in JMSB, that's long. So we are working on entrepreneurship as well. So one question I want to ask is about, when we look at the fundraising process, and so research shows and data shows that the success of women in fundraising process has been much lower than their male counterparts. And we have people from financial sector here as well. Definitely there's been progress so far, but still we have a big gap here on the fundraising. And so there are different reasons and different solutions for that. So I would like you to talk about what do you think are the main reasons behind it and how we can fill that gap, that women have equal access to funds while they are developing their own enterprises and their own ventures.
Elise.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that it's been probably an issue for women to raise capital and try to actually be as convincing that they can be successful in their business, and that's throughout many industries. And we see now that more, like Caisse de Dépôt, for example, are taking initiatives to make sure that they are promoting and supporting women's leadership and companies that are led by women. And there's been also great initiatives that were created recently with Excelia, which is a women's venture capital fund. And at Fiera Capital, it's part of our commitment to support the women's leadership and entrepreneurship. So we actually gave them we committed 50 million of capital for, to launch companies that are technology focused. So we believe that this is also going to be helping, like Anne-Marie was saying, technology has been a game changer for women. And we certainly think that this is going to be a good success in a way to promote and help women being able to raise capital and be successful in their leadership roles.
Yeah, we'll get some of that money, but again, it's another very positive answer to, I think, what's happened. There's days where I kind of say, so yeah, I happen to be a woman, but at the end of the day, I'm a good entrepreneur. It's not really because of it. There's aspects to being more feminine than masculine, but my wish so much would be that my daughter wouldn't have to talk about being a woman. I was approached a couple of years ago to talk about a similar subject, and I really said, frankly, I'm really kind of tired of talking about it all the time. So it's not the right angle because, you know, the mindset's important, but I think that it's really, again, it's all about, you know, putting our money where our mouth is, and it's what's exciting about, I think, this initiative is that it's educational, it's business, it's finance. Hopefully it'll have to become as well political, and we're getting there. But yeah, I think that even though patience is certainly not my virtue, I'm really not a patient person, but I think we do have to understand that you can't go either too fast, because there are impacts when you go too fast and it's not it's not really thought out. But it's super encouraging, for sure. We've come a long way.
Microcredit Montreal has been around 30 years, 32 years, I guess, and its mission is still pertinent today because there are people who are excluded from financing. For sure, the people that we're dealing with, perhaps they have little mom and pop shops, little home-based businesses, but our mission is to be the first step so that they can have access to other financing. And it's the personalized mentorship, the support and so on, so that they can have confidence in themselves, so that they can have access to the other institutions, because definitely there's a lot more out there now. And just in Quebec, we have EVOL, which is a women's loan fund. We have specifically loan funds for Black entrepreneurs and Philaction. So there are many, many actors which weren't there 30 years ago, but still we're finding that there are people who are falling between the different programs because there are different norms. And so what we're hoping is that if we can all work together as an ecosystem, then it's going to be much more smoother, so someone can come to Banque Nationale after Microcrédit Montréal.
Thank you. So I think there's a lot of reasons why we are where we are today, but I do believe that the paradigm shift has happened. And to Elise's point, all of you great points, and Elise's, and Marie's point about, not having to talk about it anymore and just moving on with business. I think that'll happen sooner than later. At least I'm very hopeful that it will. So just with respect to BFL Canada, our model makes it so that, a woman entrepreneur that wants to build within our firm, actually doesn't have to access finance. We do it all for that person. So yeah, the model has been tremendous. And I think if firms, Barry Lorenzetti's vision back 35 years ago this year, firms think about how they can attract and groom their own and bringing them into equity shareholding, then I think, BFL, Barry has figured it out, and we have a tremendous, tremendous model to help with just that point, raising the capital to get started.
Can I add an academic angle to this?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if that's exciting or sad, but basically, just from a research perspective too, I think it's fantastic. We need to address the system, but there's also subtle biases that we're all guilty of. And they've done tons of research on startups when women and male led startups are asking for money. And men and women are asking men and women very different questions. So if it's a woman starting up a business, they get asked very prevention-focused questions, right? So how will you avoid failing? Whereas men, startups tend to be asked more sort of promotion-focused questions, like how will you succeed? And that leads to very different answers. And so sometimes there are little things that we need to be aware of. And so more knowledge sharing, more mentorship, and just increasing our level of awareness around this is so important too. So chicken or the egg, but we need to be aware of it all. So that's my academic.
So thank you very much. I think is it time? It's 1 o'clock.
I think it's
Do we have any questions from the web?
We do. I am conscious of our panelists' time. They are quite big questions, so maybe I can just summarize very quickly, and maybe this is a moment for some final thoughts. Let me just pop this open here. Sorry, folks, I know you can hear me, but can you see me? Here I am. Okay, so the questions that have come up really have to do with gender inequalities in Canada and perhaps some systemic changes that could be adapted. What would those look like? What would those be? There was also a question about the broken rung in leadership for women in the US and whether this was also a situation in the workforce for women in Canada. And finally, somebody's asking, what is your best career advice that you can share since each of you have moved into senior executive positions? So quite huge, and maybe you'd each just like to say a few closing words and address maybe one of those issues.
I will try with Elise. She's next to me, so it's you.
Thank you. Well, great question, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of, diversity and awareness to diversity, I think it is everywhere. And to our panelists, I think that eventually we'll get there, that we will not have to think about, is it for a man or a woman? It will just be natural. And that's certainly a great wish. And I can foresee that's going to be feasible and achievable. And then the best business advice I would give is like Neri was saying, just as a mentor, I always tell my the mentors, mentees, yeah,
Yes.
right, that they have to trust themselves. But of course, I would say maybe to be a bit different, I would say that you have to take the opportunity that is there and not think about, is it right for me? We see that a woman will just wait to be really at that level to apply for a position, where the men...
Or what would they think if I fail?
Exactly, and men are just more, more. I don't want to say aggressive, but they're probably more up to it and proactive in taking a risk. So I would say that just grab the opportunity, and it's not a problem if you fail. You're just going to be learning from that experience. So, I mean, this is probably my best advice.
There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of good questions. We'll need longer next time. Again, so many things that we've all said. I think career advice is to just try. Just try it. The worst thing that can happen is that it's maybe not turning out what you want it to be. Don't accept anyone that does not treat you fairly. So trust yourself and like yourself. Because if you like yourself, then typically you will not accept, because there's so many stories that we hear when people start, and listen to that voice. If your first managers in your first job are not treating you well and nicely, that's not normal. So yes, you have to work hard, and we all have objectives to target and hit and do a good job and perform. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be done with spite or anything like that. So trust yourself and go for it. You know, there's a sense that there's so many opportunities out there. It's true that if you really believe in it, it will happen. But you got to be resilient. It won't be easy. Thank you.
In the interest of time, I agree totally with all that's been said. I'd just like to add that find yourself a mentor, or even better, find a sponsor, somebody within the organization who will speak for you. Because very often women, we don't want to blow our own horns, as we say, so find a sponsor.
Thank you. So for the interest of not repeating everything that was said, career advice for me, it's all about passion. If you're passionate about what you do, you work hard, and there's no reason why you won't be successful. I think for women, we're very challenged. We challenge with respect to the male that sits beside us in terms of that next job, in the sense that, are we good enough? And we second guess ourselves a lot, and that to me has to stop. And really, it's not women's fault. It's just the way we've been raised, where we come from, where our upbringings, and again, I mentioned the paradigm shift, and I truly believe that. So for me, it's about being passionate and just follow what you really truly want to do. There's a lot of support out there for women, for young women now, women in general. Use the support system, to your point of earlier, as much as you can. The mentorship is important. And then I just want to make a point on that last rung of the ladder. That was one of the questions there in the US. I think in Canada, we are somewhat ahead of the game. I think there's a lot of work being done on diversity and inclusion, and obviously women in leadership and CEOs and C-suite positions. So I don't feel that. I don't believe that we're hanging at the last rung of the ladder like it used to be. I think we've made a lot of progress. And I think we need to change that perception. So perception, becomes reality. I guess that's the expression. So if we remove that perception and we remove the second guessing and just follow our passion, I think we can do very well.
Thank you. So, no more questions? No? So it's time to thank you very much. It was so fruitful. All you said for me, you bring me a lot to think about. Thank you very much. It was great. Yes. Thank you to you also to be there.
Yes, thank you so much. And I will let Anna close it for us. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you, Ingrid and Louise, for bringing this conversation through Fourth Space. We so enjoyed having you all here amongst us, panelists, special guest speakers, audience members. And of course, I'll just echo what folks are saying on Zoom, which is that they're so grateful for this conversation, for having this moment to reflect on these questions together. Everybody's really enjoyed the event from what I'm seeing. So thank you so much to the organizers, Kelly Hall, for helping us make this happen. And again, Ingrid and Louise, you're powerful forces here at play. We welcome you back to Fourth Space sometime soon. All right, folks, we're going to close up the webinar. Wish you, I was going to say Friday afternoon, certainly feels like it, but we'll wish you a great Wednesday afternoon. And have a wonderful day. Until next time. Bye-bye.
And